I was working at a club. It was a strip club, and the general manager, took a liking, to me, and we would have conversations. So when I told him that, hey, I'm going to be leaving, I'm going to be going out and chasing this goal of mine to be a full-time trader, and I felt like now was a good time to do it. He's like, if you want to do it, I can give you $250,000. I'm like, don't play with me, man. Trading is very lonely and it's very monetary. But when you start to make money, you start to ask yourself, at least for me, is this it? What is this it? Because I thought the money would make me happier. I thought that it would bring a level of fulfillment. My investor was doing well. We were doing well. Why does it even matter whether you're happy or not, or whether it's fulfilling or not? You're making money. Performance started to decline. So I was essentially losing $5,000 to $10,000 a day.
All right, folks, here we are on Trading Up. We've got Emmanuel in the house from LiveFreeFx. He's been trading for 9 years and he's been full-time for the last, since 2019. So welcome to the show, Emmanuel.
Thank you so much, Cam. It's a pleasure to be on your show. You've been a great inspiration on my trading journey. You've been around for a long time, and sharing beautiful stories and inspirational stories, of other traders' success. And I remember, like years ago when I found your podcast, there was, I listened to it, and it just, for a lot of traders that I looked up to, kind of gave me, okay, you know what, the journey is possible. So, 9 years later, it's a pleasure to be on the call on your show, and I'm grateful.
Yeah, awesome. Well, look, it's great to see people sort of go through that whole cycle, and I'm glad that I'm sort of being part of it in some way, shape, or form. To see like the likes of yourself coming out on the other end. Now, we're going to start off with finding out about that journey. I mean, how did it start, and how did you get to where you are now? Folks, if you're looking for a prop firm at the moment and you want someone who's been around for ages, flexible, reliable, and has low profit targets, then check out my sponsors, Blue Guardian. So these guys, I've been trading with them for the last 8 months. They've been sponsoring the show for about that amount of time, and they even have guys on my live stream trading them as well. So what I've found is their commission seems to be lower than some of the competitors out there. So really great trading environment, and they offer now C-Trader and some other fantastic trading platforms as well. If you want to check them out, there's a coupon code in the description, or just use it, Trading Nut, all one word, and get 10% off at checkout. There's a QR code you can grab here as well. All right, folks, let's get on with the show.
Well, I have been, I came in the trading game back, what's almost 9 years ago? Would it be 2015 or 2016? I'm not too sure, around that time. But, I came in the game, and, before it blew up on social media. I wasn't really, it wasn't big on social media. There wasn't as many traders out there. So it was just coming up. I met a guy, I was in school, I was looking to go be a police officer, or that's why I was studying criminal justice, in school, and ultimately didn't go down that path. And I realized, okay, you know what, I need to do something more. I never saw myself going down that path, but I was working security. I was bouncing at a nightclub just so I can, pay my tuition and pay for my rent, my $500 apartment that I was living in at the time. And I was at a club, and one of the bouncers, told me, "Hey, man, I got this thing that I've been doing. Let me show it to you." And I was excited to see an opportunity to make money. I was like an 18, 19-year-old kid. And I was looking for the perfect way to make money, because I knew that I wasn't returning back to school, the following semester. So I knew that, okay, I need to find a way to make money. So when he told me that, I couldn't sleep that night, and picked me up at 6 a.m. in the morning, and he showed me the charts. And that was essentially the start of my journey. It looked like Chinese. I couldn't read it. I couldn't pronounce it. I couldn't even understand what was going on. But I had a feeling, deep in my heart that, hey, Emmanuel, you're going to be on this path for a long time. And I just kind of there was almost like a voice that said, hey, this is going to be your life for a while. And 9 years later, it's essentially my journey. But that was the initial start of my trading journey, I would say. That's how I got involved. Some of the big guys around that time that were coming up, Q Banks was, starting to build his brand. You know, I live in Toronto, Canada, so we had some guys here in the Forex family. They were coming up building your brand as well. So like kind of like the pioneers of the social media, you know, guys. You know, we're coming up around that time. You were certainly, you know, still coming up as well and doing your thing. So I don't know if you started back in 2019, but I remember you started early.
I think it was, yeah, around 2015. I should have been doing the podcast at that point. I'm pretty sure I was. But I mean, I mean, so how did you dive into your, like, you know, let's dive into the charts. You know, you started to find out how things work. I mean, how was your first foray? I know it took you 4 years to finally crack it. Let's go through that 4-year period and sort of pick out some highlights around like what went wrong, what was you doing that you ended up fixing, and that kind of thing.
Well, the thing that I realized with trading is it's a craft. You know, that's my message. Trading is a craft. Trading is not a get rich quick. Of course, I came into the trading industry to get rich quick. You know, I wanted to make as much money as quickly as possible. And then I slowly started to realize, hey, Emmanuel, if you're going to make this, you're going to have to dedicate hours and, you know, put some time into the craft of trading. So I was studying the markets. I was trading a wide variety of different pairs. Obviously, I came in and I'm trading Forex. So looking at a wide variety of different pairs and just, you know, trading and working my job and dreaming. I would be, you know, working my security job. And I would look for a little bit of a private section. I was also working security in my college. So I would find a classroom where I can study the charts and just, you know, like outside on my break, you know, in times where I wasn't, you know, I wasn't the clock. I was just doing anything I could to study. And once I got to a certain, maybe like a couple of months of learning, educate myself, working with my mentor, I decided, okay, you know what, maybe I'll make an investment into the trading game and, you know, start to see. And the very first, even before that, I think I had made $1,000 on demo account. And I remember a friend was dropping me home and I showed him in the car. I'm like, dude, like I just made $1,000 on, you know, my it was demo. But the feeling that like I could make $1,000 just from my cell phone was outstanding to me. And I was just I was hooked, you know, I was in love with the process from that point on. And I just started to learn. And then obviously I would deposit money in it because I'm still learning. I'm still trying to find myself, find my edge in the market. You know, you donated your money to the broker, right? So I wasn't exactly getting the returns that I wanted to see. But I believe that in life, if you are hungry enough for something, you really want something, you are determined, you are willing to push through, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. And my belief was at some point in time, I would figure something out. And as my journey kind of kept going, I met other traders, you know, connected with other traders, some high level traders, but some were just, you know, friends who were also on the same path as well, because I understand the power of proximity. And proximity is essentially, you know, if you are around a successful person, it's going to rub off. If you're around someone who is not going anywhere in life, it's also going to rub off as well. So I focused on just surrounding myself with a great support system. And, you know, there are times where, you know, my friends didn't support me. So I went from having a lot of friends, throwing parties in college, to essentially having no friends and being isolated and being on my own path and being on my own journey of self-discovery. And trading was extremely powerful for me becoming essentially a better human being. So the difficulties I was facing over the years, what it allowed me to do, I realized very quickly that if I am going to make it, I am going to actually not even just make it. If I am going to survive this process of trying to find my edge, trying to become successful, not just in the trading world, but just in general, I would have to develop the mental fortitude to do that. So I started to educate myself, read more, right? If you see the back there, I got a little bit of books there. I got some books in my room. I have books all over my house. Started to read more, started to listen to some, you know, motivational speakers, Les Brown, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, you know, Earl Nightingale. A lot of these guys just kind of opened my mind to, hey, the possibilities of just life. And through that process, obviously, I developed my ability to just communicate effectively. But it showed me the power of personal development, right? So at a young age, I started doing this, at 19, and I've been doing this, essentially, for a while. And it's helped me just continue going in my trading journey. And 3 years into it, wasn't successful yet. We're still going through the process of trying different things, and nothing was working. So now I am at a point where I can look back and say, well, I understand, because a lot of traders' goal is to be consistent, right? And to be profitable. But there still is a universal law that applies to trading that we have to follow and we have to stick to. And that law is you reap what you sow. If you want consistency in the market, you have to approach the market with a high degree of consistency. And what I was doing was I was approaching the market with a lot of randomness when I first came in the game. And as a byproduct of that, my results were very random. I would win, I would lose, I would win, I would lose. So I never really had an edge. And if I had an edge, when it stopped working, I switched over to something else and, try to, I got to go learn how fibs work. I got to go learn, how something else, some new concept that came out. I would learn it. I would educate myself on it and start using it right away. So none of it worked. But when things started to change for me was, I believe, 3 years into the journey, I'm backtesting now. I realized, okay, Emmanuel, I have learned everything from a price action standpoint, and I am still not where I want to be. It's not because I don't have the technical skills. It is because from a psychological standpoint, I am not approaching trading from, the level of like a meticulous aspect that I should be approaching trading. And that's when I started to make changes, right? I started to, eliminate the amount of pairs that I look at. Stop focusing on 10 to 12 pairs because I wanted opportunity and I wanted choices. And the funny thing is you experience the paradox of choices. You have so much options that you think it's options, but what you're constantly doing is putting your capital at risk. So I just started to eliminate and started to focus solely on 1 to 2 pairs. And today I only trade gold, and I trade with a high degree of consistency. In my live trading room, I live trade with my members daily, not daily, twice to 3 times a week. And we do it with a high degree of consistency, right? So that's just been my path, but there's more to share.
It's interesting that I like distilling it down to 1 pair and, reducing it all down. And I mean, I think that is kind of the crux of getting to the point where you can become, get some consistency. Like, so going back to, I suppose, distilling it all down. I mean, how did you, still establish that edge that you were going to trade with that one market? So you obviously had to have an edge to apply to the market to then execute on a regular basis. I mean, how did you work out that this was the edge I was going to go with and I was happy with it? I've got results that give me confidence. What did you do?
So one of the things that I started to do that made a huge impact for me was backtesting, but not backtesting in the usual sense of, using a backtesting software and all that. As a trader, your goal is to build the reticular activating system of your brain to recognize patterns, right? If you decide that, hey, you want a nice black Range Rover and you're looking at it every day, when you go outside, you're going to start to notice every black Range Rover that drives by, and that's essentially how the brain works. So for me, what I started to do was I found, this is the edge that I want to trade. And I would collect samples of it, and I would collect hundreds of samples of it across different markets, not just the market I was looking to focus on. I would collect different samples. And that way, when I saw it happen in real time, I was confident in putting my capital at risk. Whereas backtesting, on the normal software, I would backtest and I'd be like, oh man, my account would go up 1,000%, blah, blah, blah. But I wouldn't be able to repeat that cycle because while I'm backtesting, there's still a lot of randomness that I'm doing, and things are moving so fast and I'm not able to just approach the market from a level of precision.
Hey folks, what a view behind me. I'm at BLACKBULL Markets headquarters here in Auckland, New Zealand. Speaking of views, you can get TradingView paid plans for free at BLACKBULL Markets, saving you up to $600 a year. That's right, get either the Essential, Plus or Premium plans absolutely free, and all you need to do is trade from one lot a month at BLACKBULL Markets. And you can also get a 100% deposit bonus for your first deposit up to $1,000. All you need to do is click the Trading Nut link in the description below.
But when you collect samples and you collect hundreds of samples, you start to notice the difference. Your brain can see these play out in real time, and it knows the probability. If you have collected 100 samples, right, it knows that, okay, out of that 100 samples, maybe 20 didn't work out. This is why they didn't work out. This is precisely what the market did that made it not work out, right? And that's what I do. It's kind of like the philosophy that I approach it with is, I think it's a Bruce Lee who said this, or someone in the martial art world. They said, I'm pretty sure it's Bruce Lee, but he said, I am not afraid of the man who practiced, 1,000 kick 1,000 times. I'm afraid of the man who practiced one kick 1,000 times. And that's what it is. You have to practice one thing. So if you have an edge, maybe it's just the fibs, right? Getting down to the 38% retracement, and then you taking it up. Collect samples of it. See it. Okay, see it. And what that would do is it'll just allow you to be able to maintain your composure while price is trading down to that specific level, and you feel comfortable engage in the market because you actually know the probability of it working out. So that was one of the things that I did, and one of the switch that I made that helped me just, okay, Emmanuel, you have an edge, but I solidified it actually when I went full time, right? So when I was going full time trading, I hadn't perfect that concept yet. I was just going full time because I'm like, I got to go full time. I am tired of working for people, and I can't keep giving my time for lousy pay. And at the time, funny enough, I was actually making 10 grand a month from the job that I was doing, right? I was working as a bouncer at a nightclub. And I was personal training, and the nightclub, I was head security there. And it was cool. It was a good time. It was good. It was good vibes. But we made a lot of money. And, when I told people, hey, you know what, I'm going to leave this and go full time, go chase my golden dream. Everybody thought I was crazy. Like, dude, you're making so much, like this is 10 grand a month. Now it's not as much as 10 grand a month back in like 2018, 2017. Right. So it's like, that was like 20 with inflation, it's like 15, 20 grand almost. Right. But it was good. It was, but one of the things is you have to always, I'm not going to say follow your heart or follow your passion. Right. But there's always something within you that is guiding you, that is telling you this is exactly what you should do. And a lot of people ignore that feeling, and then eventually the feeling goes away. But for me, I wouldn't say I wanted more, but I just wanted more. I just wanted more.
Yeah.
The traditional path wouldn't work for me. So I spearheaded my trading journey before I had actually figured out, my edge in the market. And it's kind of like when you jump off the cliff, your wings, you can find ways to attach your wings while you're falling. And sometimes you might fall really close, and but eventually you find your wings. So that was it for me.
Because like 2019, that's when the whole prop firm thing was just, I think it wasn't even really a massive thing at that point, where it is now, right? So what did you do, like going full time at that stage? I mean, how do you sort of manage capital and that sort of thing?
So what I started, like, that was the thing, right? So like I said, I was working at a club. It was a strip club. And I went in there and I was just extremely focused. I didn't exactly care. I had been a bouncer since I was 18 years old. Even before I was old enough to get into clubs, I was bouncing at these establishments because I was like 200 pounds. So I had quite experience. So I'm like, okay, easy money. And if I'm going to be a police officer, this is good experience, learning to de-escalate conflicts. But it got to a point where I knew I wasn't going to go down that path, but I still needed to make capital. I still needed to make money. And it was just obviously a way to do that. So over the years, you make contacts, you get experience. So I was able to be in a position where I'm, managing security at this club. And I would honestly go in there and I would bring my book and just read while I'm there, read while I'm there before a lot of people start coming in. I used to go in with Outwitting the Devil, different books, Think and Grow Rich, and just read. I didn't care about like what was going on. You become eventually desensitized to just all of it, after a while. And so I was just like, okay, I'm focused on what I'm doing. Trading is it. Everything I did, every single job that I had, even my personal training job, was so I could still trade the market, because it allowed me some degree of control in my trading. I could show up, I could trade the New York session, which is what I still predominantly trade, and go to work at 10 a.m. So it allowed me the ability to manage my time, and then nighttime I would potentially work at this place. But because I was the way that I carried myself and just the dedication I showed to where I wanted to go and my vision, people will notice, people will observe. You work in an establishment like that, there are going to be a lot of men who get lost in the sauce, right? And a lot of the guys came in, they were very excited that just what was going on, they got lost in it. But for me, I was focused on where I was going. And the general manager, took a liking to me, and we would have conversation. And he had real estate portfolios that were just insane. He traded stocks, trading $250,000, had a $250,000 portfolio in stocks. And we just talk for hours. And he gave me a great business advice. He said, my dream car is a Bentley. He says business before Bentleys, always right. Focus on business fit first before you focus on the nicer and the depreciating assets, because all those things you can. So he was a very good inspiration and mentor for me. And then obviously when I told him, like, hey man, I'm having my daughter, and I think it's, this is it. I'm going to be leaving. This was like, I believe 2019. I told him, like, yeah, my daughter's going to be coming in September, and, I'm going to be leaving, essentially, to go full time in my trading journey. And I had a little bit of capital, set aside. And then he's like, hey man, cool. If you're going to do that, but sorry, let me backtrack. Before I even told him I was going to quit, there was a day where I gave him a trade, because he wanted to get into Forex, right? He's a stock trader. Forex has always intimidated him because there's a lot of liquidity and moves very quickly. It's quite different from stocks. So, I'm the Forex guy. I've been doing it for years at this point. So I told him to take a trade. I told him, like, he took the trade, but I didn't realize he was going to take it on a real account. I had helped him, set us up like an account, but it was a demo account at the time we set it up, right? So I didn't know that, he had gone through the process of putting the money in. Yeah. And I saw him a couple of weeks back, and he had made 20 grand. The trade had played out. So he came up to me like, yo, that trade you gave me played out, 20 grand. And at the time I was like, okay, that's cool. I watched the trade play out, and I felt good. It was reassurance that, like, I knew what what I was doing in the market. And yeah, and he told me, he's like, yeah, the trade played out. I made 20 grand on it. It didn't click. And I thought it was just demo money. So I'm like, oh, that's nice, man. And then like, it's real money, you know, and I was like, wow, like, you know, but I didn't want anything from it. So when I told him that, hey, you know, I'm going to be leaving, I'm going to be going out and chasing this goal of mine to be a full-time trader. And I felt like now was a good time to do it. He's like, yeah, well, if you want to do it, I can give you $250,000. And I'm like 23 years old, man. Like, you know, like I haven't seen that kind of money. I had a couple of like, you know, a little bit of money just, you know, set aside. And, you know, when I'm like, don't play with me, man. Don't like, you know, don't like, that was my exact, don't play with me, dude.
Yeah.
You know, like, don't like it. So I was like, and he's like, oh, I'm not serious. I'm serious. I had also booked a trip to go to Peru and go live in the Amazon for a couple of days and for actually a couple of weeks before I would go through the process of being a full-time trader. And so he's like, well, when you come back, it's going to be ready. So, you know, that's I based on the relationship that we had and based on the person that I am and the person that he was, I knew he was a man of his word. And when I went to the Amazonian jungle. I went, came back. It was ready. It was ready, and the rest was. So
did he like say? I mean, obviously he's going to want some cut out of that. I mean, was it kind of like a prop firm?
Yeah,
in a way where you know, where you get a percentage, maybe not the percentages you get now, but like, was it like 50-50 or something like that?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. You know, that was how we did it. You know, that was.
And so when you sort of like, okay, so jumping from whatever you're trading to that is quite a big leap. I mean, were there any sort of like stumbles along the way? Did you know, I could imagine it would have been quite a bit of a psychological shift, for you to do that. How did you get around that? Absolutely.
Well, this is the thing. For me, I primed my brain to like, hey, Emmanuel, this is going to be a journey. All right. This is your opportunity. You know, this is the opportunity you've essentially been waiting for. What, not your entire life, but, you know, for in terms of this trading journey, this is kind of like as good as it could get. And so
actually, before you dive into it, I mean, like, were you actually turning profit on smaller accounts at that point?
Yes.
Like consistently.
And
can you give us like an example of like what would you have?
I would take like I would take like a $10,000 account to like 20,000 to like 30,000 account. And you know, like I had a little bit of like show, but sometimes I still suffered from like the psychological difficulties where it's like I would get excited and I would lose it. Right. And, you know, that was like, okay, you got to maintain your composure, Emmanuel. You gotta realize like, hey, like this is not, you're not the Wolf of Wall Street, you know, like you can't, cause like now I did multiple $1,000 accounts to 10,000, you know, multiple.
Right. Okay.
That was where I was.
So okay. And then how long would it take you to get that, you know, 1K to 10,000?
You know, like
a couple of weeks. Okay. So at that point you're sort of thinking, okay, well, I can live off $9,000, right? Exactly. And it's going to take me 2 weeks versus 10,000 a month. It's kind of like makes sense to leave my job, right? Yeah. That maths works out. I mean, to do that, just so that people understand, because that's, you know, it's huge growth, right? 1,000 to 10,000. How do you do that from a sort of risk point of view?
Well, that's the thing. So one of the things I struggled with was trying to grow my account with a risk management, with the standard risk management in the industry, which is the risk 1%, 2%, or 3%. And I found that, you know, and this is, you know, not just me, but most traders who come to the industry don't have, you know, thousands of $100,000 or $200,000 where you can risk 1% of that, and that's like, you know, 2,000, 1,000, and you're actually able to make the big bucks. So being able to follow the proper risk management, I would sit here and be lying if I said I was doing 1 to 2%. You know, risk. What I was following was a risk management protocol that I had gotten from a book, The Trading Game by Ryan Jones, and he covers there are different types of risk management. You have, I think it's called like I can't remember how he breaks it down, but it's the standard in the industry is just the 1% and 2%, but the way that I follow, I use the risk management was based off of my lot size. So I would have an account size that would allow me to, okay, let's say I start with a $10,000 account. I would start with one standard lot, and I would see an increase in, take that $1,000, 10,000 to, to 12,000, and which is the delta that I needed. My delta was around two and a half grand, right? So 2.5 grand, it's called delta, which is what you need to hit in order for you to be able to increase your lot size. So I would increase my lot size to 2 standard lot once I hit 12.5 grand. Now with 2 standard lot, I need to hit essentially 5 grand, right? I need to hit that delta twice to increase the 3 standard lot. Yeah. So it was a way for me to essentially scale my account, and I had it all in paper there. I had it all and I would do that, and I was like, woo. But the problem is, as you start to scale your account, maybe you get to like the 5 standard lot. There comes psychological difficulties with that, and sometimes you're going to have drawdowns. So one of the things I realized is like, okay, well, just because I have the ability to increase my risk don't mean I should, right? So that's one of the things that I started to do that would allow me, because I would increase it, and then I would get to like 5 standard lot, 6,000 standard lot, and then I would lose it all again, because I just couldn't handle the psychological aspect of scaling my account that were trading. You're jumping around, man. I'm going to be a millionaire overnight. I'm about to go buy a Lambo. I'm about to go pop bottles at the club, which we did, but it was cool. But
it's funny. When you say fix Ryan Jones, I just had a look. I was like, yeah, fixed ratio. That's it. Because I remember, I was like, well, I've definitely seen that name before, and it's in my software that I use to build algos. And he's got an actual, it says fixed ratio by Ryan Jones is one of the options to do the monetization of or the risk management of your trades. So that's where fixed ratio. So if you want to look that out, folks, go and check it out. But sorry. So that's how you were doing it. You're doing the fixed ratio. You're jumping from 1,000 to 10. This guy's giving you 250. Let's jump back to when you're getting the 250. How did that play out for, to change the way you approached the whole risk management thing?
The way that, so then I switched over to just percentage, right? Because I was working with a larger account at this point in time, which is why the fixed ratio was great when you are trading, a lower size account and you need to scale that account. But when you have a big enough account, you can actually comfortably trade with 1%, 2%, because what you're risking allows you to still make a substantial amount of income, right? Or some money on your trade. So essentially, quit November, we went full time, and my first month I did $30,000. I made what I essentially made for my personal training, from a yearly standpoint, I made that in 1 month of trading. And the second January of that month, that year, we're going into 2020, like 20,000, right? So we were making money, we were making more money than I had ever made before. And this is where things starts to kind of get interesting, where it's like, okay, we're making money now. I'm essentially living the dream, living what I had essentially worked for my entire life. My daughter is here, just like, okay, I got it. I got everything. Don't worry about nothing. We're going to be good. Looking at all the things they're going to buy, like going out to the clubs, popping bottles. I live on Toronto, I live downtown, and that's kind of like what you do. I don't do that stuff anymore. It doesn't intrigue me anymore, but we did it. That I worked in the industry. That's what I saw. So you go out and you spend money, you have fun, take care of your friends and do all of that stuff. So it was cool. But there was a psychological thing that I was experiencing, and this is something that is a lot of people notice that. You may notice that even, as an audience watching, and maybe you're not profitable yet, but trading is very lonely. And it's very monetary. There is a lot of, you're trading because you want to make money. But when you start to make money, now you start to ask yourself, at least for me, I started asking, is this it? Is this it? What is this it? Because I thought the money would make me happier. I thought that it would bring a level of fulfillment. My investor was doing well. We were doing well. Emmanuel, shut up. What are you thinking about? Why does it even matter whether you're happy or not, or whether it's fulfilling or not? You're making money, right? And that's obviously like an approach that I have now with like things that I go into. Like, it doesn't have to be you don't have to be passionate about it. You don't have to be like, it doesn't have to be a passion of you. As long as it makes money, it's important, right? But at that point in time, I'm 23, right? I'm still like very big on like chase your passion, and trading is my passion. But then I'm making a lot of money, and I'm making tons of money from it. So every day I wake up, roll out of bed, and it's kind of like a cycle. I'd make money, go out, party that weekend, and come, repeat, travel, do all of that stuff. Was this it? And I think the psychological difficult, like not the question, me questioning myself started to slowly decrease my trading performance. And it started to act as a form of self-sabotage. And then also, the pandemic hit and the market got extremely volatile. So, with me questioning myself, with me, feeling at this point a little unmotivated and a little bit like not excited about what I'm doing anymore, losing it a little bit, performance started to decline. So I was essentially, losing, $5,000-$10,000, a day. And in order for me to literally get this back, I had to double down. But I realized I couldn't do it on my own because the desire to now, make money was so high. And the motivation comes back once you're down in your equity, right? But once you're up in your equity and you're making money, it's like, okay, we're good. But the motivation comes back once you're down in your equity, and the desire to make money starts to like, okay, well, I got to make sure, boom, boom, boom. But I knew I couldn't do it myself. So I hired, a trader psychologist, Randy. Shout out to Randy. And Randy and I, we worked together, for 3 months, and it's one of the best money I've spent in terms of trading. And we worked on not just trading, a lot of personal things from childhood, because trading is like a mirror. It is a reflection of you, and it has a way of bringing out the things that you're experiencing and you've experienced in the past. They'll all pop up in your trading game. And Randy worked with me, and while he was working with me from a psychological standpoint, I was doing everything I can to refine my own trading process and my own trading. Because the way that I was trading at that point in time, I was swing trading, right? So I was, and that was it, right? I was swing trading. My approach was more of a set and forget type of method. And I would have trades running for 30,000, 20,000, and I wouldn't close these trades because my approach was like, hey, I need the market to give me 100 peps. That's my target, and price is going to give me 100 peps, right? The market would give me 60, 70 peps, and I'll be up like thousands, 30,000, 20,000, but I wouldn't close the trade, right? And you watch a $30,000 trade, slowly turn into a $20,000, $15,000, $10,000, $5,000. And then, I remember with a particular trade, that happened with GJ, and I took a loss of like 5,000 after the trade had been up like 30,000 plus. So that made me realize, Emmanuel, this is you gotta change something. So as a trader, a lot of my videos, a lot of the things that I preach in my community, when we do a live stream, even in the YouTube channel, is the market gives and the market takes. When the market give, make sure you take, right? A lot of traders have the ability to be profitable, probably like 3 years ago, right? But because you're still trying to insert your own belief, your own, oh, I want the market to give me this. The market don't care about you, right? But if the market gives you, it's 60 peps, make sure you take something. So the way that I trade right now is, let's say I come into the market in the New York session. I'm usually watching the market at, from 7:30. I'm executing my trade at about 8 o'clock. If I see an opportunity right away, I might execute it, but just based on, history, I usually just sit like 20 minutes, get an understanding of what's happening on a higher time frame, who's in control of the market. Do I want to be a buyer? Do I want to be a seller? And then I scale down to the 5 minute. I'm trading gold. So, the 1 minute, these are great. These are great time frames to minimize your risk. I usually my risk is about 30 peps, 35 peps on gold on average, within the 30 pep range. But I have an open take profit, but my first take profit is always 30 peps or just slightly over. Because what that does is it allows me to satisfy my greed, right? And it allows the small wins to add up. So when I take something off the table, my psychology is now more relaxed. I am more calm. But before I get to that process, I am tense. I am not relaxed. I am, I have to focus on my breathing. I have to regulate myself. And these are things that Randy taught me from, just from working together. I was trading with a heart rate monitor. And some days I still trade with a heart rate monitor, depending on, if I wake up and I'm like maybe a little bit tense and, not, I don't know. I just don't feel like I'm good. So I'll trade with a heart rate monitor, which acts as a biofeedback device and allows you to it gives you like, okay, if your heart rate is increasing, my resting heart rate is around 62, 65, beats per minute. If it increases to 70, 72, I start to use my breath to slow down. And the reason why is so your amygdala, which is it's part of your limbic system, doesn't get hijacked. It processes fear, right? And a lot trading is the way traders see trading, and the money that we risk is not just digital. It's also like you're being attacked by a wild animal. So it's really important that you learn to manage yourself, particularly your amygdala, because if it gets hijacked, that's where a lot of traders go into revenge trading, over trading, and just sitting on your trading desk until your entire capital is wiped out clean. So, Would you want to take us through like a
typical, I suppose, day of like a winning day and then a losing day? Can you talk us through each of those?
Yeah, so a typical winning day would be, so the way that my approach works is I come to the market, like I said, New York session 7:30, let's say I'm trading gold, put a trade on and risk 30 peps and the market goes in my favor. I just want the market to go in my favor a little bit, right? I don't need price to prove that I am right the entire way of the trade. I just need price to give me 30 peps. I take 30 peps. Let's say I go in with 10 standard lot. I close half of that, right? That's 5. So I've banked around $1,500 or $1,400. If it goes a little bit more before I close it, maybe around $1,700 on my first take profit, right? I move my stop loss to break even, right? And then now if the market wants to run, let it run. So I capture the home run trade as prices pushing up. I just trail my stop loss as it's forming new lows if I'm buying on the 1 minute time frame. So I go from capturing 30 peps on my first position to capturing upwards of 100 to 180 peps on my second position within a couple of hours. But if price doesn't run and only gives me 30 peps, I have paid myself for the hour or 2 hours that I have sat down. And that's exactly what we did today in our trading community, and yesterday actually, because price ran a little bit today, but yesterday I came into the market, boom, took a sell on gold with the news that came out, and I only closed out my first position, and then my second position got stopped out at break even. But either way, I was still able to make around $1,000 to $2,000, and it just for that hour and a half that I sat there because I paid myself. Now there are days where the market will run, and I would make more than that. You know, you'd have the $9,000, $10,000 day, and if you hold it a little bit more, maybe the $20,000 day. But what I started to do now is I let the small wins add up, right? And when a typical losing day would be, you know, I come into the market, I give myself 3 strikes, right? 3 strikes. I'm looking at one pair. And generally, I don't even let it hit 3 strikes. It's maybe 2 strikes maximum. If I take 2 losses, that's it. I'm not forcing it. 30 peps, right? So a typical losing day would be, just, you know, I lose 30 peps. If I'm going in with 10 standard, that's, you know, anywhere between $3,000 or $2,000 or so. But my philosophy is the sun will shine again, because for a long time I would beat myself up after a losing trade, right? And I would struggle with that. And man, you know, it was the end of the day. Don't talk to me. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to deal. You know, it's like that was it. I'm in my room, and it's just like you know, it's just war, and I'm like anxious about coming into the market the next day. But the beautiful thing about doing the same thing every single day is, you know, you're approaching the market with a high degree of consistency. So the market will eventually give you consistency in return. And so for me, I know that I can, you know, my community right now, the last 2 weeks, we've been on winning. Just like I haven't had a single losing day, but not to say a single losing day won't come. I have to prepare myself for that. But it's just because gold right now, we've been buying gold. It's trending higher. It is, you know, I'm going to give them, it's like March right now, right? So gold is moving. It's easy pickings. So being a buyer in the market is easy because there hasn't been much retracement, right? So you buy a market, you buy. But losing days will come. And my philosophy is this is part of trading, right? In order for you to be a great trader, the number one thing you have to learn is you have to be a good loser. If you're not a good loser, you're not going to make it in this game, right? So that's the philosophy. So the way that I handle winning trades is the same way that I handle a losing trade. I am grateful, and I show up the next day and I execute.
So the like, I mean, when you obviously went back and back tested and got your edge and stuff, you would have seen some losing trades in there, and you would have had, you know, the edge, which is not 100%. So you know you're going to lose on that edge sometimes. I mean, on a losing day, would you go back and go, okay, well, the edge just didn't work, or what, or is it something else that's happened? Like I've screwed up and I've made a mistake with the entry, or what would be the typical sort of scenario on a losing day that you would go, okay, it's just the edge didn't work that day, or is it more I made 2 mistakes and I'm out because I'm just not, there goes the edge, I've missed it, and it's away. I mean, what's the typical sort of look and feel of that losing day for you?
Well, now it's a little bit different. Obviously, like there's a lot of like refinement that I've done through my trading process. This is one thing I spoke about maybe in some of my videos. The problems that we face as traders, if you're an unprofitable trader right now, you know, even for me, I have problems still in my trading that I need to refine. But those problems are the solutions that are going to take you to the next level. And, you know, there's a study that was done with self-made millionaires, and they realized with self-made millionaires, the setbacks that they experience, the difficulties that they experience, you know, ultimately acted as the building blocks for them to build and make your millions in whatever industry. So trading is no different. If you're coming into the market, you have to understand that you are going to lose, and you're going to have problems that you're experiencing. You know, one of the biggest things when I was coming up is I struggled with trading sideways market. I would lose money consistently in sideways market. When the market was trending, I was making money, you know, bearish, making money. But when price would go sideways, I would essentially lose money. And it was just like, wow. But sideways market happened quite frequently. So for me, it was like, okay, I had to figure out a way to solve this problem. And I did. You know, I figured out a strategy that would allow me to execute on a sideways market. And today, that is my favorite strategy. I call it the accumulation and distribution. I have it on my YouTube channel. My members see me trade with it live consistently every single day. We traded with it today. So it's like, if you can solve the problems that you're experiencing, it will allow you to go to the next level. So when I take a losing trade, I look at it and I try to learn from it. I avoid beating myself up for it. If it's, 2 losses, I may beat myself up depending on whether I'm starting my month from trading where I really want to, see some level of performance. But I usually don't try to put any big pressure on myself. I've just learned from years of just like scars, man. Like a loss when I first started trading was everything, man. It just like the way that I dealt with it was just not healthy. It was not healthy. It was not healthy.
It's actually funny you say that, you've struggled with the ranging market and you come up with something I've actually literally just done the same thing because I was always struggling with trending markets. I get caught out when the market started trending and my setup just wouldn't work. So I ended up doing exactly what you did, coming up with a way to trade that trending market. And now it's like, okay, great. Now I can start looking for a trend trade instead of trying to look for my range bound trade, which isn't going to work and going to fail, potentially multiple times. So it's really interesting. Now, what about if you had to recommend sort of steps, given the fact you've got like a good decade of experience here, steps somebody should take to get profitable in this game, what would they be?
I like philosophy and just, studying, I don't know, history and reading books that inspire me. One of my favorite books, it's not a trading book, but every trader should read this book so they can understand the world that they are walking into. It is Robert Greene, Mastery. Mastery is a book that highlights, the greats, right? Anybody you can think of from, I can't say Mozart, Leonardo da Vinci, and all these great people who have done how they approached your craft. The very first thing you have to understand is that trading is a craft, and you have to approach it with a, with a degree of just like, okay, what do I need to do? Don't focus on the money. Don't focus on the lifestyle. Don't focus on the fact that you have a bunch of Instagram traders who are driving Lambos. That may not be your reality for a while, but it's okay. It doesn't mean that you're not going to make enough money to keep the day job away, but you just have to focus on mastering the craft. And, usually trading will highlight the things that you as an individual trader have to master in order for you to go to the level. It is you're running your own race. There's a million ways to make $1 million in this game. There is nothing new under the sun. So I don't talk about, my concept being the truth or that concept being the truth. It's just, you have to approach the market with, the fact that it's a craft. And also understand that if you want consistency in return, you have to first give the market consistency in your learning, consistency in showing up at the same time every single day. When you start to do that, you may notice that, hey, the market is not as random as you think. And it'll allow you, especially if you focus on, 1 or 2 pairs, you notice that they tend to do the same thing. Liquidity starts to flow into the market at specific times of the day, and opportunities are presented at specific times of the day. Whether you're a scalper, a swing trader, or a day trader, it all the same process. There is usually a window of opportunity for a pair that you're trading. Focus on that, be consistent at that. And, just find supportive people, right? Who are doing things, watch podcasts like this, find people who are going to inspire you, create a vision for yourself, write those goals down, work on yourself, right? Develop yourself because you need a strong level of mental fortitude in order to be a trader. I'm not going to tell you trading is easy. It's easy once you know what you're doing, right? You can make a lot of money very quickly, but overall, you need to get there first when it becomes easy, right? So those are my steps. Learn from other successful people. Proximity is important. So one of the things that I did for myself was I got around other successful traders. I would show up to their events. I spent $30,000 in education, in my trading education. I don't recommend anybody doing that. That was big, but I was just buying courses. I never really, cared about I was buying anything that could help me. I was buying. A lot of the things I bought was garbage. But the thing is, some of them helped me gain a deep understanding of just like certain things. And that's what you're going to learn. Everything you learn, whether you learn it from me, you learn it from the next trader on YouTube, you learn it from Cam, it's going to require a certain level of personalization. You're going to have to take it to the charts. If you're just one of those people who are consuming information for the sake of consuming information, profitability is going to be miles away from you. You have to take the approach of you learn something, oh, wow, great. Take it to the charts and see if it works. If it doesn't, discard it. If it works, add it to your arsenal. And yeah, that would be essentially what I would recommend.
Brilliant. Well, look, it's a fantastic way to end up the show, which is full of gems here, folks. I mean, you're probably going to want to go back and listen to some of this again. Now, before we wrap up, Emmanuel, what's the best way for traders to get hold of you?
Well, we got our YouTube, LiveFreeFx, and on the YouTube, you can find our channel, LiveFreeFx, on Instagram, Emmanuel _LiveFreeFx. Yeah, that's in our website, LiveFreeFx.com, where we have our community, our trading community, which I do my live trading. You can chat live with me, and we have our weekly webinars where you can ask me any questions and overall just be around other serious traders and like-minded individuals. But yeah, that's it. So that's yeah.
Cool. Well, look, a big thank you to Emmanuel for sharing with us today. Everything we discussed here are going to be in the show notes. So if you do want to find them, there'll be a link under the video or in the podcast description, or if you're over there on Trading Nut, search for Emmanuel in the search box. Until next time, wish all my listeners trading happiness and success.